It's echoey in here. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, another Q&A. I want to answer as many questions possible that were pulled from my Instagram, RealKennyKO. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. I'm certain you always get asked this, but how does it affect sex life? This is pertaining to Sarms, selective androgen receptor modulators. If you're new to the channel, I have tons of videos covering each SARM in depth, side effects, benefits, PCT, post-cycle therapy, everything. From my personal experience and what I've seen from most people I know, there's an improvement to your sex life. That's not to say it's gonna happen for every person. You may get the common term in the anabolic world, decadic, where you may not be functioning normally. Maybe your hormones are out of whack from your testosterone being suppressed or estrogen being too high. But from my personal experience, I have never experienced any negatives to SARMs and sex life. I've definitely experienced it from other anabolics out there in the world, but not SARMs. But once again, I want to state that doesn't mean that it won't happen to you, that there's not a chance it would happen, because there probably is a chance. I have heard of it happening to people, but I also know they were taking other things along with SARMs that probably contributed to that more than the actual SARMs. And by the way, guys, I am not a doctor. Do not do anything without your doctor's supervision. This video is all for informational and educational purposes only. If by chance you happen to need something for your lab rat for testing purposes, the first link in the description down below, or halfwicked.com. How would MK677 and LGD4033 stack with someone who has naturally low tests? Really, the best benefit to get out of SARMs, I'm gonna be honest, is being on TRT or HRT, testosterone replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy, or low dose test. That way you avoid the testosterone suppression, the most common side effect that are gonna be with most SARMs, LGD, YK11, Ostarine, S23, S4. Every SARM that's out there, the number one side effect most people are going to experience or need to look out for is testosterone suppression. How would you stack it for someone that naturally has low test? I don't know if you're talking about that you've done blood work and your results came back that you actually have low test, or if you're just assuming you do. And if you're just assuming you do, I recommend go get blood work. See if you actually do have low testosterone levels, or if you just think you do and you actually don't. But how is it going to affect you? If you're already low testosterone, you don't need to worry about the suppression of the LGD4033, and MK677 is non-hormonal to your testosterone, so it's not going to suppress you in any way. But because you have the LGD4033, it is going to be suppressive, so it might suppress your already low testosterone even more, or gain the effects of taking the LGD4033 and you'll actually feel better. Any advice while on MK677? So MK677 actually isn't even a SARM, it's a growth hormone secretagogue. I've said this in numerous videos. You guys can look back a couple of videos if you really want. But my advice for MK677 from my personal experience and what I've seen from numerous different studies and other people taking it, my hunger skyrockets. I'm talking through the roof. So if you're gonna be doing or trying to take MK677 on a contest prep or a cut, don't do it. Not to say you can't, but I don't recommend it just because of the increase in hunger. But there is a way to actually avoid that side effect, and that will be taking MK677 at night before bed. Another very popular thing with MK677 is I get extremely bloated and watery whenever I take MK677 because it acts very similar to human growth hormone, where there's a lot of water retention, especially if you get into the higher dosages. I'm not a fan of the look. I get moon face, my face gets really puffy, my fingers get the numb tingling that's very common with HGH. The fountain of youth is the best way to explain MK677 in as simple terms possible. Keep your minerals in check, meaning your sodium, your electrolytes, everything, so you can avoid as much water retention possible. Play around with the dosage so you're in a good range, not too high, and where you're getting the most benefit out of it. And then yeah, you should be good to go. If you take SARMs, are you still natty? No. How long to wait between cycles? So the average cycle length, depending on what you take, is probably gonna average 8 to 12 weeks for most people. You want to run a full spectrum PCT, either Clomid, Nova, HCG. I also offer a PCT on Half Wicked, many of you know that. But PCT is going to last usually around 4 weeks, and then you usually want to give a couple extra weeks to allow your body just time off from everything. So time off from the PCT, time off from the cycles. And a lot of people say the amount of time you are on cycle, you should take that same amount of time off cycle. I've never really experienced where I needed that. I've done blood work before, after, during. Full spectrum, frequent blood work to see where my levels were at. And it's also dependent on your genetics. My genetics, I bounced back very quick to my natural, levels of my testosterone, my estrogen, my cholesterol, my lipid profile, my liver enzymes. everything jumped back so quick that I could do a PCT for just a couple weeks and I would be back to how I was normally before I ever started the cycle, meaning I could jump back on another cycle. Now, that's where I stress, and it's just really important, do blood work. I mean, it's super easy. You get the results, you can see where you're at, and then you can make the decision if you want to jump on another cycle or not. How do you keep your gains between cycles? So that jumps back to the last question. PCT, post-cycle therapy, that is how you are going to keep your gains. A lot of people think post-cycle therapy is to keep you from getting all these crazy side effects, and yes, that is correct, but actually the main purpose and the most important part of any cycle is the PCT, because PCT, the post-cycle therapy, is what's going to allow you to keep majority of the gains you made from your main cycle. So let's say you took like LGD and MK677, some bulk cycle, you gained, let's say 10 to 15 pounds. If you don't run a PCT and stuff, you may lose majority of that, 80%, let's just say a random number out there. Where if you ran a PCT and actually took care of your body and allowed your body to retain as much of that possible, you're not gonna retain all of it. I mean, that's a given, most people know that, but you're gonna retain a vast majority of it, and that's what the purpose of running that initial cycle was, to build your physique, to build muscle, to build strength, and then retain as much of it possible in the post-cycle therapy. So then when you're then recovered, you can jump on another cycle and continue to make progress. So you just wanna make progress, more progress, more progress, and that's what post-cycle therapy does, along with also avoiding all the side effects and everything that come along with coming off cold turkey. MK677, numbness in hands/fingers. So you probably heard me just mention that a few questions back. MK677 acts pretty much identical to HGH. When I did the documentary, geez, that was a while ago now, I'm trying to think how long ago it was, a year, 2 years ago, somewhere in that time frame, we were doing 20 IUs of GH a day, which is an extremely, extremely high dosage. And the number one thing, my fingers were always just super swollen and like numb, as if you had sat on your hand for a couple hours, where you just have like this tingling sensation going up and down your fingers through your hands. And that's how you know you have either legit HGH, human growth hormone, or legit MK677. If you're getting those side effects, and it's also gonna be dose dependent, of course, just like everything. But if you get those side effects, you know what you are taking is legit, because that's one of the most common things you are gonna notice with HGH or MK677 is the numbness in your hands and fingers. Yeah, so it's normal, don't be worried about it, that's just what happens. Is it the best time to take the Sarms just before workouts? Yeah, so I always recommend pre-workout for your lab rat. I say about 1 hour, allow the compound or whatever your lab rat is taking to get into the system. That way you get the most out of your workouts. Not to say you couldn't do it, most of their half-lives are usually around 24 hours for a majority of Sarms. Some are shorter, some are longer, but majority is right around the 24-hour mark, meaning you only need to dose once per day. Now, you could do it in the morning, you could do it at night, but the benefit of doing it pre-workout is you get it in your system and you get your levels peaked just before your workout, so you get more out of your workout than you would if you were to take it in the morning and then let's say workout at night, where it's kind of tapering off at that point. So you want it at the absolute peak just to get the most out of your workout, get the most reps, the most sets, to push your body just to the absolute furthest you can. Is there any Sarms you would recommend for martial arts? Yeah, so Sarms are actually very popular in the sports world, baseball, football, UFC, MMA, martial arts. Take your pick. There's a reason majority of like Cartering, GW 501, 516 were banned from most professional level sports because it offers such a crazy advantage to those that take it. Your endurance goes through the roof. I'm talking within the first day or two. It's absolutely insane. Cartering is probably one of the best, in my opinion, performance enhancing drugs for actual like sports performance. Or if you want to get more of your workouts, do more reps, do more sets where you're able to work out longer and harder. Cyclists, swimmers, really anyone can benefit from Cartering. But like I mentioned, if you are, your goal is to go really far with martial arts, they're probably going to drug test for it. Which Sarms are being banned? I mean, probably eventually at some point, all of them, but a matter of time and figuring out when. As of at the moment, I think what your question is someone has a patent pending for LGD 4033 So what that means is no one else is going to be able to sell it other than that company that has the patent or the rights to that product. Not to say you won't be able to find it. I'm sure you'll still be able to find LGD 4033, but the prices are either going to be skyrocketed or it's just going to be a lot harder to find. So what that means is stock up while you can, get as much as you can, because it's looking pretty likely. I'm not going to say it's 100% that will happen. Are Sarms going to be banned soon, and should we stock up? Same question pretty much once again. Yes, my recommendation is always stock up. Just like the pro hormones, it was like kind of that where they just disappeared. And not only do they get harder to get and acquire, the prices go so much higher that it almost becomes whether it's worth it or not. Liquid versus capsules, gonna be the same thing. It's all a matter of preference. Both are gonna be oral. I've seen so many people that are like, yo, can I inject the liquid Sarms? No, 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 no. Unless they were made for an injection and they are specified for an injection, do not, with an oral liquid Sarm, inject it, okay? Do not. But for the oral aspect, liquid versus capsule, they're gonna be the same thing. They end up in the same place. The only difference is liquid really tastes like shit. To be honest, many of you who have tried it probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Capsules, much easier to take. There's also the debate, people think liquids are usually more real than the capsules. Not true at all. You can fake liquids so extremely easy, just as easy as you can fake capsules. So it's about the same percentage chance. They both do the same thing. It's just a matter of preference. And that answers majority of the questions I thought you guys would benefit from out of this Q&A. Of course, if you want to take place in the next one, make sure to follow my Instagram, RealKennyKO. That's where I do all the Q&As. That's where I do the updates with Half Wicked. That's where I tell you guys about sourcing, discounts, everything I can possibly tell you. Majority of it is through my Instagram. This is just kind of a trickle down where I like to answer questions because it's easier and I can answer one question that might help hundreds, if not thousands of people. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Make sure to share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Turn on post notifications. I hope you learned something, and just remember, be careful.